Welcome to the Liberace Mansion.
Welcome to Under the Vegas Sun, looking at the people, the events, and the news surrounding Las Vegas and the entire Vegas Valley. Hello, I'm Steve Schorr. We are live from the Liberace Mansion. In the beginning of our program, we always say the same thing. Welcome to our program. You'll meet the people, talk about the events and the news surrounding this community. Well, in the past few weeks, there's probably not been one single event larger than the 1 October shooting in which 58 people were killed in that shooting. Today on our program, we're going to talk about that. We think we need to share the reality of what took place with the one man who was directly involved with this right from the beginning. He is the chairman of the Clark County Commission, the government that surrounds the area where this took place. His name is Steve Sisolak. His insights to what took place, his insights to what happens next, his insights to even the controversy that has surrounded it all will be coming up in just a few seconds. Stay with us.
Hello, this is Keith Evans at the Lion Habitat Ranch. We'd like you to come out and visit our ranch. There's 38 lions, a giraffe that paints, ostriches, emus, and birds. We do school tours, general admission, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and behind-the-scenes tours every day of the week. Besides coming in as general admission, you can also pay extra to help our animals, and you can feed the giraffe. You can feed one of the lions, or you can have Ozzy paint a custom canvas for you. You can also buy Ozzy paintings in the gift shop. While we do our demonstrations at 12 and 2 of Ozzy painting, all those canvases are available for purchase. In addition to everything you can do here in person, you can find us on the website, lionhabitatranch.org, where you can make your reservations online or buy your paintings online. Thank you very much. Please come.
Hey, it's Mark Chinook from Monday's Dark, and you are watching Under the Vegas Sun with Steve Schorr.
Communities and cities around the world are known sometimes not just the way they respond to the good things of life, but sometimes by the challenges of life. Las Vegas and all of Southern Nevada has been faced probably with one of its biggest challenges ever, and the response has been a lot by the people of this community. The man who has been directly involved with that is our special guest on our program today. He is the chairman of the Clark County Commission, Steve Sisolak. Welcome to our program.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
You know, I have to look back on 1 October, and there's a time when people are shocked by the reality of what takes place, and a time when people sit back and say, it can't be happening. You were there almost right from the beginning. Was it for you, I can't believe this is happening, or was it an immediate response from you, how are we going to deal with it?
Well, when I got the initial text and phone call from the sheriff, it was, I forget if it was late on the 1st or early on the 2nd, it was midnight-ish, and I couldn't believe it, couldn't possibly imagine. I said, Joe, I'll meet you at headquarters, and got down to the headquarters as quickly as we can and got introduced to the FBI team that was there and the sheriff's team, and just kind of sat back and watched them, and got to talk to Joe a little bit and said, it's horrific, and we didn't know the death toll at the time. We didn't know the injuries. It was still in the initial stages of the incident, and said we're going to need blood, and the two of us put out an immediate call for blood, and this community is so loving and so giving that by 7 o'clock there were lines around the blood centers to donate blood.
There's a lot of people around the world that see Las Vegas as the entertainment capital of the world, the gaming capital of the world, the entertainment mecca of anything that you want, and of late a lot of sports happening in town. A lot of people would not have seen this potential of ever happening in Las Vegas. In looking back, do you think the city was ready for this? Do you think the city responded in the way that you wanted it to respond?
I do. I could not have imagined the response that we'd get. I'm so proud of being a citizen of this community. The outpouring of support, whether it was people coming to pray at vigils, whether it was people coming to our first responders with a plate of homemade cookies and saying, this is all I can give, but please accept this. People making financial contributions that has been enormous. The donations of blood, just that walking up to a first responder and shaking your hand and saying thank you. This community has really stood up for itself, and I think that people around the world are now seeing that Las Vegas is more than that 4 miles on Las Vegas Boulevard or 5 miles on Las Vegas Boulevard. It's a lot more than that. It's neighborhoods and people and families and churches and schools and parks, and I think that that's the one good thing that came out of this.
Have been multiple stories about people who had been there, 22,000 that had been at this concert, the Route 91 Harvest Festival concert, that even protected fellow concert goers that took it upon themselves not to run, but to stay and protect and stay and help. It throws a different light to me. I'm curious what you throws a different light on how people respond to emergencies. Now, we've seen in the media over and over again how people sometimes ignore emergencies and they turn their cheek and they don't want to look at it and they don't want to help. In this instance, a lot of people did just the opposite. They stayed, they helped, they did the things that were needed to do, and at the same time put their own lives on the line.
Oh, absolutely. People protected the wounded that were shot. Our first responders, ran into that scene at a time when gunfire was still coming down. I can't say enough about the Mandalay Bay security team that was just, Jesus Campos saved potentially hundreds of lives. And took shots himself. That's a well-trained team they have at Mandalay, but for the fact that they were there, it could have been a lot worse than it is. Got people over the barricades. I gave the eulogy at one of the security officers that was killed at the 1 October tragedy, and they had the video, and I saw those shirts, of the yellow shirts of the security guards that were helping people get over the rails, out of the facility. Any way they possibly could, just to save lives, and made huge sacrifices and put their own lives in danger to do that. And the compassion and the outpouring of love has just been incredible.
This was the worst mass murder in American history by an individual. 58 dead, 500 injured, nearly 500 injured. It is not just the tragedy of what took place that night. As you just said, you've given eulogies at ceremonies, at funerals. You've been, I know personally, you've been involved. I know what you've attempted to do. It's the tragedy was the tragedy, but it's the aftermath. Do you agree that we're still facing?
Oh, absolutely, and we'll continue to face it for a period of time. I attended a last flight home for a Navy officer, Chris Roybal, with his mom and dad at McCarran Airport, where the casket goes up the conveyor for his last flight home in the belly of the plane to Northern California. And I remember mom saying to me that, he served 4 tours in Afghanistan, and he comes home and gets killed at a concert. And dad's saying, you're not supposed to bury your kids. They're supposed to bury us. And I said, I know. I don't have words to express to it. And they were so touched. He was a K-9 officer, and the Department of Aviation put all their K-9 patrols out there, and that meant so much to the mom and dad, just to see those simple things that people were doing to express their feelings and their support for everybody that was involved. And we'll continue to get through it. There's a lot of people still hurting, a lot of surgeries upcoming, a lot of funerals left to go. But as a
lot of people still in the hospital.
A lot of people still in the hospital.
That are fighting for their own lives.
And I would imagine that the death toll is at some point going to go up, sadly. There's a lot of people critical. There's some folks on life support, and hopefully it doesn't, but it could very well increase. Mm-hmm.
Social media, good, bad, or indifferent, social media has been at times very, very critical over what took place, very, very critical of the response, very critical of the sheriff, Joe Lombardo, very critical of Metro in a lot of ways, because of the timelines that have developed. Social media has even raised questions about politicizing this whole situation. Knowing you as I do, I would think that kind of raises the hair on the back of your neck.
It does, but haters are going to hate, and that's what those folks are. I've spent so much time with the sheriff in the last 3 weeks. I had a lot of respect for him prior. On September 30th, I had a lot of respect for Joe. We're good friends, but What I've seen and what I've come to know, and in the time since then, it's just, this is an individual that has led us through the darkest time. I mean, he's worked with the FBI. Unfortunately, there aren't the answers that people want. Everybody wants to know why, and nobody has an answer to why.
If they ever find out the answer.
And I don't know if they'll ever find out. You're absolutely right. I don't know if they'll ever find out. I hope they do. They certainly want to find out, but I can tell you there is no stone unturned. They are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. I mean, we were all running on no sleep for a whole week. I mean, no sleep and lots of coffee, and just wanting to get answers and wanting to protect and wanting to make sure the city was safe. That was the sheriff's first job, his first instinct, his responsibility, and he did it. And every one of those men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department and our fire department did a great job. I mean, they have been incredible. They've been remarkable. There are not enough accolades to go around for all of those folks.
There's a point of where MGM has at times been, I think, treated unfairly by that social media. You had a chance and have had many chances to work directly with MGM. At least the reports that I've seen coming out of MGM is that they have been working directly with both the county, the FBI, and Metro to try to get the answers that are needed. Has that been your experience?
Absolutely. Without question, they have been totally transparent, as cooperative as could possibly be. I mean, they've gone out of their way to provide facilities and services for the victims, for family members. They were the first one to step up and donate $3 million to the Victims Fund. I can't say enough about Jim Murn and the 50,000 people that he represents at MGM. I mean, they are true community family members, and they care. I mean, they really do care. And you're going to get those critics out there that are just looking to, stir the pot and cause a problem. That's sad. It's unfortunate because it really detracts from the great work that the folks at MGM have done and our first responders have done. I mean, I've talked to doctors and nurses. We had, 2 people in one surgery suite at a time. And when I got to the hospital, the sheriff and I went to speak to the widow of our officer that was killed at the Route 91. And when we pulled in the UMC parking lot, I remember there were gurneys lined up in the parking lot with bags attached to them, just ready to put people on them. And the people weren't coming in ambulances. They were coming in pickup trucks and cars and SUVs, just any way they could get there. People were taking their own car and pulling somebody in and getting to the hospital.
One of the things that has occurred has been the great outpouring of help through the GoFundMe account. We're going to take a break for a second. When we come back, I want to talk about the GoFundMe account, how it began, where it began, and why it began. We'll talk about that in just a couple of seconds. Stay with us. Again, a tragedy in Las Vegas, tragedy in Clark County, but it's the way we're responding. We'll be right back. The 1 October shooting, 58 killed. It is a telltale sign sometimes, unfortunately, of what is happening in our world. But the way a community responds is even a greater telltale sign of what those in the community and those in this country really do to help others. Welcome back, our very special guest, County Commission Chairman Steve Sisolak. Welcome back to our program. Shortly after this tragedy took place, a GoFundMe account was started by yourself and Sheriff Joe Lombardo. That account has now raised in excess of $11 million. There are critics out there who say it was just nothing more than, again, a political move on your part. I know how emotional you are, and I know what you've gone through. Tell me the impetus behind creating the GoFund account, and was it, I'll ask you straight out, was it political?
It was as far from political as it could possibly be. Politics is the furthest thing from my mind from October 1st until today, to be honest with you. We just finished putting out to the media that we needed blood, and Joe and I are walking and standing, and things are happening so quickly, and the tragedy's unfolding, and we're getting calls, and the death toll is rising. It's 18, it's 23, it's 27. It's like, geez, the more in the hospital, we got to. And I said, Joe, there's got to be something else we can do. I said, people are going to need some money. We're going to need some money. Maybe we can raise some money. And he says, okay, let's try. So I didn't know anything about what they call crowd platform funding. I had no idea what it was. Called a friend of mine and said, look, I heard this GoFundMe thing. I know that J.J. Watts, I think, did it for the flood or the hurricane in Houston. And I said, look, look, start this account for the sheriff and I'll make the first contribution to it. And gave him my credit card. And I honestly thought we'd raise $50,000 or $100,000. I thought that's what we'd raise and we could help somehow. I didn't know what to help. I didn't know what to do. So we did that. And then suddenly one thing led to another, and that was at 2 o'clock in the morning that we did that.
2 o'clock in the morning?
It was 2 o'clock in the morning. It was 2 o'clock in the morning that we did that. And then we got up to right near $100,000, and Stephen Klubeck called me and said, well, I saw your fund and I'll finish it out for you. So what do you mean? He says, you're at 100, you wanted 500, I'll donate $400,000. I said, what, are you kidding? He says, no, I'll donate $400,000, and he did.
That's Steve.
That's Steve. And they're very generous, and the fund went to $500,000, and then they raised it to $1 million, and it was going up so quickly. It just, the outpouring of support from not just Nevada and the United States, around the world has been incredible. We've gotten donations from I don't know how many countries. We've gotten donations from, and it's great. We get people like Steve Klubeck donated $400,000. Billy Walters, he called me on the way back east and donated $500,000. I said, geez, Billy, you're dealing with your stuff? He goes, no, that's my community. And then somebody else will send in $5 check. It's just 86,000 people have made contributions, which is just mind-blowing to me.
You were telling me about a group in Europe, in Germany.
Yeah.
Tell me about
that.
I
got a note, got a little package with some handmade cards, the ones you make out of construction paper. They're folded in half with like a handprint, and we love Las Vegas, from an Air Force base in Germany. Had a fundraiser in 2 of their classes and sent us $84.65. Kids. Yeah.
Let me be honest, Steve. You're running for governor. You're announced that you're running for governor. How do you respond to those people who say, it's just Steve Sisolak running for governor? I can see the emotion in your eyes.
People that are going to hate and criticize are going to continue to do that. And if somebody wants to, use one of the worst tragedy we've ever had to capitalize for a political gain, I mean, they're going to have to answer to a higher power than me someday. And, they'll do that. But that's the furthest thing from my mind. This is about how much I love this community and how much these 86,000 people love this community.
This has been our second tragedy that I have personally gone through. 1980, MGM fire. 85 people died in that fire. What came out of that, I believe, was a resolution that has saved lives in multiple countries around the world, because what happened as a result of that fire was the necessity to make sure that hotels and high-rises had sprinkler systems. There's a lot of people that now look at what happened at 1 October shooting in Mandalay Bay and say, what good can come out of this?
Well, I think that there's some good things that can come out of it. I will, with my last breath, say that I think that the security staff at MGM Mandalay Bay was incredible. They did a great job, saved a lot of lives. This was one deranged individual that for some reason, unbeknownst to any of us at this point, showered down this hatred on this fishbowl beneath him. And I don't know if you can ever stop that, but that was met with an outpouring of love that came from our community. Some things can be done. I mean, as I think we get to much bigger issues, I don't believe people talk, I don't think this is a mental health issue, but this individual, you're talking about somebody that, was a mathematic wizard, I think. I mean, the way he calculated numbers and drops of bullets and some of those sort of things. I mean, he's an intelligent individual, financially well off. I mean, he didn't have those issues. I think it raises the point, and I've been hesitant to go too far with this right now because we're still mourning and I want to let families bury their loved ones. Thoughts and prayers are great, but I need more than thoughts and prayers. We need to do something about common sense guns control. With the bump stocks, there is no legitimate purpose to put bump stocks on these weapons. There's just, and expanded cartridges that when you see them can shoot bullets so quickly, you can't use that for hunting. You just can't. An animal would be destroyed. You're hitting with so many bullets. So we've got background checks. It wouldn't matter with this individual background check because he'd have passed. But we got to look at some common sense gun measures.
But there's also another part to this. He was what we would call in our community a whale. Mm-hmm. He was a very high roller gambler.
No.
He got a suite at Mandalay Bay. Casinos in Las Vegas protect high rollers so they don't go to another casino. I mean, this is somebody who was a gambler at the Wynn, who was a gambler at other hotels. He was a gambler there at Mandalay Bay. And people say, well, why didn't they go in and check his room? Why didn't they go and check his room? The truth is that high rollers are somewhat protected by casinos. Their privacy is protected, and that normally would not have happened anyway. And when they did go into the room, they never saw anything anyway.
Right.
Does that change now the entire paradigm on how casinos deal with gamblers?
I don't think it will. You know, I mean, they're going to be more cautious. I mean, and they're experts a lot more informed on this topic than me, that, you know, will obviously opine on this and they can come up with some things. But we've both stayed in hotels at various times in our life, and if you put on the do not disturb sign on the door, the maid figures, okay, that's one room I don't have to clean, I don't have to change the sheets in that room, I'll move on to the next one. Sometimes people want their privacy, whatever it is. Now, would it maybe precipitate a phone call up to the room just saying, Steve, are you okay? We're just checking on you. And maybe they did that. I don't know what they did. I mean, there's so many rumors floating out there that that happen, you know, are being proffered. And I don't know if they're true or not. But you're looking at an individual that had planned this to the extent he blocked the door. He ordered room service just to get the cart.
He went to other cities and looked at other potential sites.
Yes, and maybe he couldn't get the right room. I don't know what it was, but he ordered room service to get the cart so he could attach the cameras. They have it in the hallway. I mean, this was well thought out. It was a man that was hell-bent on destroying lives, and nobody knows why. And we can always second-guess it, but I am so proud. I'm so proud of this community. I'm so proud of the way Mandalay handled this, and I will stand.
First responders.
And our first responders. I mean, I saw members of our fire department and our Metropolitan Police Department when I was on the site, and saw bodies, and they're just soaked in blood. They're covered in blood. I mean, and I've had individuals that were there that say this was like being in Afghanistan. I mean, that's what this triage was like. I mean, it was so unbelievably horrific. It was just, it's a sight that you just can't get out of your mind, and the eeriness of walking and seeing bodies, and a cell phone rings, and it's so sad, and that's just somebody looking for their loved one, and loved ones are going to be continuing to hurt for a long time. Like Mrs. Roybal said to me, you're not supposed to bury your kids, and you're not. And but this community, we really do care. I know that industry cares. Our first responders, from fire to police to hospital to doctors, nurses, to the coroner's office. I mean, I've been in the coroner's office a few times. I mean, you're looking at folks that they're used to dealing with deceased, you know, you get gunshot victims and you get people that die for various reasons.
Not 58 like this.
Not 58 in an hour. Nope, you don't get that.
I want to thank you very much for being with us. I think your insight into this is important for people. I think it's important for the audience. I think it's important for people to understand. And I'm glad that we looked at this idea of, is this political, and has your response been political? Because I know you, and I know who you are. And I think those around the country need to see who that is. So I want to thank you very much for being with us. It's been very insightful.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.
Much appreciated. Thank you. God bless you.
We'll have some closing words in just a few seconds.
Hello, this is Keith Evans at the Lion Habitat Ranch. We'd like you to come out and visit our ranch. There's 38 lions, giraffe that paints, ostriches, emus, and birds. We do school tours, general admission, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and behind-the-scenes tours every day of the week. Besides coming in as general admission, you can also pay extra to help our animals, and you can feed the giraffe. You can feed one of the lions, or you can have Ozzy paint a custom canvas for you. You can also buy Ozzy paintings in the gift shop. While we do our demonstrations at 12 and 2 of Ozzy painting, all those canvases are available for purchase. In addition to everything you can do here in person, you can find us on the website, lionhabitatranch.org, where you can make your reservations online or buy your paintings online. Thank you very much. Please come.
News. In today's world, news has become even more important in our lives. Hello, I'm Steve Schorr. For some 40 years, Las Vegas has been my home, and it's been good to me. Now, I want to give back. That's why I started the Now Report, the independent voice newspaper, fair, balanced, unbiased, online and mobile, and it's free. The time has come for an independent voice because news is important. I have been in this town for over 40 years now, and Las Vegas is my home. I've never been prouder than I have been in recent weeks because of the way this community has responded to this tragedy. Not only the first responders, but the community itself, the people who have been touched in their own way by this tragedy. Las Vegas, I know, as I've mentioned in the program, is different things to different people around the world. But I think now people see Las Vegas as in a completely different light. The words Vegas strong mean something to everybody in this community. The words Vegas strong is what this community now is all about. I'm Steve Schorr. Until the next time, be safe and enjoy life under the Vegas sun. Hello, I'm Steve Schorr. I've been proud to host the TV show Under the Vegas Sun. We've had mayors and entertainers and some of the true movers and shakers of Las Vegas. Well, we're growing again. We'll now be seen in 209 cities in America through our network, Walk TV, as well as in 6 foreign countries. And in Las Vegas, we'll also be seen 4 times each week on Cox Communications, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m., and now Sundays at 7 p.m. on channels 1096 and 96. I just wanted to say thank you.
This has been a presentation of VATV.